So I always say to people, be careful what you ingest. Your diet isn't just food. What are you ingesting when you're going on social media? Is it serving you or afflicting you? What are you digesting when you're having conversations with other people? Are you constantly talking about the thing that you're fearing and worrying? Some people, many people, studies have shown that alcoholism has skyrocketed during this time of COVID-19. People are trying to cope by drinking alcohol. And as the saying says, as I always used to tell people when I used to work with them in prisons, I said, when you're trying to drown your sorrows with alcohol, sorrows can swim. And then it's the music. What music are we listening to? Is it stuff that's soothing? Is it stuff that's relaxing? And for those who are not aware, there is two particular hertz, which is 432 and 528, that are really powerful in terms of healing your DNA, relaxing you, and bringing soothing and comfort to your soul. So if you're ever thinking you want to relax, if you type in meditation at 432 or 528 hertz, you can listen to music that's actually going to soothe you. That's what I actually do when I'm working each day. I have it playing in the background. And so we have to be careful of what we're ingesting in the newspapers and in the films that we watch. It's not just about food. And so as I was saying earlier, about the cognitive process. And so this diagram gives us a clear picture. So what we think determines how we feel. And then how we feel determines what we do. But then what we do actually reinforces what we thought in the first place. But then it has the reverse effect, because after this, we've gone through this process, then what we think determines what we do. And what we do determines how we feel. And how we feel then determines how we think. And so we have to really be careful. Again, the driver, the precursor is what you think. And if you are thinking a certain way, in a positive way, your feelings and your thoughts change. And then what you do about that situation changes. And then that reinforces you to think more of those positive thoughts. And so your thoughts create the feelings or the emotions that you experience. And this is a good way how you can learn and recognize what is going on in your thoughts. If you start to feel a certain emotion that you feel uncomfortable with, that is your body telling you that your mind is thinking a certain way. And just as in the same way, if you feel really excited or happy about something, that is your body telling you what is going on in your mind. And so we have to be very careful and aware of the mind and body connection. And so all of us have times where we have flooding thoughts, okay? And when we have those flooding thoughts, there is certain type of feelings that would, come into our consciousness. Things like fear, things like worry, things like anxiety, especially in difficult times, you know. And so that's a human experience. We all experience them. But what can happen is that those thoughts can continue to occupy our mind even in good times. Why do people think that would happen? Write in the chat. Why do you think that could happen? Why is it even when the good times come now and the difficult times have gone that we could still have those things like fear, worry, and anxiety occupying our mind, even in those good times? What do people say? What would be the reason for that? Core beliefs, absolutely. 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 That's a massive one. What we learn, absolutely. Habits and mindsets, yes. As a kind of survival technique, we're going to look at that in a minute about survival. Yeah, not processing feelings. Yeah, we're going to look at that a bit later as well. Absolutely. Really good answers. Really good answers. And so, you know, when we think about, or when you think about your problems, okay, those circuits become memories in the brain. And those memories are connected to people and places. And that's why when people, if someone's had something traumatic happen to them, and then they go back to that place, even if it's years later, they have an automatic response because those memories and those circuits are connected to those places. And that's why with things like PTSD, that's why people can be triggered by certain sounds, certain feelings, certain smells. It's because it's a memory that's connected to a particular experience. And it's the same thing with people as well. So that's when sometimes people can have transference, when someone says a statement or does something that makes the person remember someone else that did something previously, and these can be very powerful things that trigger people. When I've worked with people, I've worked in addiction since 2005, and there's so many people who experience this, where those memories and those connections are connected to people, places, and things, and it just triggers them. So the brain is a record of the past. So people wake up beginning their day in the past. Many people fall victim to this. So they wake up anxious, worried, fearful, because they are living in the past. And the record that is in the mind is always playing on loop, because remember, it's 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. And so people can wake up in the past. They're waking up remembering the problems of yesterday. And then emotions are the end product of past experiences. So when you recall those past experiences, you automatically feel anxiety. You automatically feel pain. You automatically feel fear and anxiety. And so it's really important, again, about the thoughts that we are thinking, because they are creating these end products. And those end products are then programmed into your body. See, when we say emotions, what we are really talking about is chemical and energy frequencies that are so strong that it creates something in our body that we term emotions. Emotions are short for energy plus motion. And so people keep reliving the event because the emotions of stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol are reminding you to pay attention in case something like that happens again. And so people are on this continuous loop. They wake up every day in the past. The end result of that past that they're thinking about is an emotional current that then triggers them to feel a certain way. And so these hormones are released and saying, get ready, get ready, get ready. And so that's why even when it's going good, people can still be living in the past of the worries and the fear and the anxiety. And the brain takes a snapshot, which we call a memory. And long-term memories are the result of highly charged emotional experiences. So for all of us, there is certain things you can remember 2, 3, 5, 10 years ago, whether it was good or not so good, but because it was a highly charged emotional experience. I can clearly remember the day when I got married 18 years ago, because it was a highly charged emotional experience. And so, it's important that we understand these things and the role that it plays in our lives going on from day to day. Now, this is really important, the survival mode. Studies show that many people, most people actually, even pre-COVID, would spend up to 70% of their life in survival mode. And what happens is they actually, just like in that picture, they feel like something is after them. They feel that something is chasing them. They are never at peace. They're always worrying and concerned and thinking about the past. And what happens is when people hit that button of survival mode and it's switched on during the day, people could literally have 9 good things happen which will be overridden by one negative experience. And so when people are in survival mode, there is no space for gratitude. There is no space for thankfulness. There is no space for peace. There is no space for mindfulness because they're constantly just thinking, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And often there isn't an actual threat triggering it because they're living in the memories of the past. And because they're living in the memories of the past, they're continuously triggering that emotional response in their body. And the body is then reacting from what the mind is telling it. And that is an illusion. And so it's really important, again, the mind, the driver of your mind is the thoughts. And the easy, simple way of explaining this is this. Sometimes when you've been at home by yourself or something and you hear a sound and you think, what's that? And it was nothing. But in that time and in that moment, you think in a worst case scenario, is this a burglar? Is this what's going on? But there wasn't actually nothing there. Well, that's the mode that people can continuously be in when they're in survival mode. So it's really important that we take stock of our thoughts because all events plus our response equals outcome. And so it's your thinking plus your feelings that create your reality. And what we need to do, especially in times like this, like what the lady is doing, is we need to recalibrate sometimes. We need to change our perspective. We need to adapt our thinking. Because if we stay in doomsday thinking mode, it will play havoc with your health and your well-being.